Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Unlocking Minds on Autism by Ronkymore. This is one of the most difficult video to do and topic to discuss. How did I know that my son has autism? What are the signs that I saw while he was growing up? So we had Daniel after a few years of delay. And then it was a joyful moment to have this bundle of joy in our family. Daniel hit his milestone at the right time. And about 13, 14 months, he was already saying mama, mama, da, 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 even though daddy was not with us at that time. It was still at my home country. But my mom was with me, supporting me with Daniel when I go to work and taking care of him at home. And I remember vividly that I noticed that his words were reducing. Few months after, he started making those sounds, da 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 da, and saying mama, mama, mama. And I was still thinking about it. And one particular morning, I woke up early, to get to work. And my mom called me to say that she was concerned about what she's seen, concerning Daniel's behavior, like opening the cabinet so many times a day, walking on tiptoes, opening the refrigerator so many times. In fact, she told me that she cannot even count how many times Daniel would open that refrigerator. She also said to me that Daniel will cover his ears when she's blending or she's using the vacuum. When she said that to me, I didn't really think too much about it until 2 days after. She called me again and said the same thing and said something that actually struck me. She said, as a retired teacher, I don't think I've ever seen a child engaging in this kind of behavior. I'm kind of worried. And, she said, Daniel will open that refrigerator uncountable times. And I've never even seen you engage in that behavior while growing up. So why not call the pediatrician and see what she says? And at that point, I said to my mom, I said, okay, can you please get a paper and pen and just check how many times you see him engage, especially in that behavior when he will open the refrigerator back and forth and the cabinet. And then my mom did. When we counted the number of times my son will open that refrigerator and cabinets, then we were like, we need to get to the doctor ASAP. We scheduled an appointment. We saw the doctor, and I completed an assessment online. And the doctor said to me, Mom, I think Daniel is regressing. With what I have right now to what evaluations that I've done before with him, I see a little bit of delay. Why not call the state and see if he'll be eligible for services? As a first-time mom, I was alarmed. In my mind, I was thinking, why will I call the state for my child? So I said, for what? She said, to see if he will be eligible for services. I said, okay. And I followed through. I called the state. They came into our home and had some evaluations done on Daniel. And he was found eligible 4 times a week for DI, which is developmental intervention, and 2 times a week for OT, which is occupational therapy. We got started, 3 months after working with Daniel. These practitioners will come, they will play with him, they will share some strategies that can help him progress, and some activities that I can also engage with Daniel. I noticed that there was really not too much of a change. And the big part for me was when Daniel would stand in front of the TV watching his cartoon. And when I called him so many times to leave, where he was right at, in front of the TV, he would ignore me. I will call him like 2-3 times. He would ignore. And I became worried. I called the doctor up again. I said, this is what is going on. I'm not sure if Daniel was having issues with both ears or one of his ears. And she said, okay, I'm going to refer you to an ENT doctor to get his ears checked. We scheduled an appointment. We went in. We had an audiologist on the other side of the room trying to test how his hearing was doing. And Daniel could not sit still for the most part. So she couldn't get the best results. And she said to me, Mom, I think we need to reschedule. And at that point, I'll put Daniel to sleep so that I can better have a better result, for you. And I said, that's fine. We went in 4 weeks after and they did a test. We found out that his hearing was pretty good. No form of infection, nothing. Daniel was totally fine. The doctor, his pediatrician, received a copy of the report and then asked me to come in again. She said, I'm going to refer you at this point to a developmental pediatrician. Now, we were able to get that appointment on time, to see the doctor. And I was there with my mom and Daniel, of course. She asked, the developmental pediatrician asked some questions and had some evaluations on Daniel. And she said, at the end of the assessment, she said, Mom, I'm afraid. I think Daniel is on the autism spectrum. And I remember looking at my mom like, I've never heard that before. I don't, really know what that meant. And I asked her, she said, those signs that you were seeing were actually signs of autism. Honestly, at that time, my heart sunk. I was devastated. I was broken. I was pained. And she told me that we should continue early intervention services and then report back 6 months after for a follow-up visit. When we got home that day, I remember leaning on my mom's shoulder, crying, because this is something I've never heard of before. And I had a lot of questions, but there was no one to provide that answer that I needed. Like how is my son going to do when when he's growing up? Like, is he going to be like a typical child? There were lots of questions on my mind. I cried so much. And then I decided that, well, it's not time to start, for me to sit down, but to think about the way forward, how I can better help my child. And when my husband joined, we decided that we're going to take this up on how to best support our child. So I spoke to one of my church pastors who has been walking the journey with us, answered a lot of my questions about autism. And of course, I did some research as well. But this woman has been so phenomenal. With us. She will suggest, she will recommend. And along the line, especially a few months after his diagnosis, I noticed that he had some GI issues. And his number 2 was smell really bad. And the food that he eats did not digest. And then I heard about the GFCF diet, which is the gluten-free, casein-free diet. So I took Daniel off milk, no gluten foods, like pizza, no milk. And please check with your pediatrician to see what works for your child, because not everyone who tried this diet will experience the same thing. Please check with your pediatrician. I'm trying to share what I did, with Daniel. And I saw that taking him off some kinds of food really helped and minimized some challenging behaviors that we've been experiencing. And then we are still working on that. We're still keeping that. I am thankful to God that at every point of our journey, He has placed people, helpers in our lives, to support us, to encourage us, to pray with us. Now, Daniel is 10. We share bonds. He's attached to mommy. And also to dad, but most especially to mommy, to me. I hope this helps. Whether you are at the beginning or you just received a diagnosis, or you have someone who newly has been diagnosed with autism, or you're at the middle, or maybe your child is grown. I am here with you. I understand. If you need to talk, you need to chat, you need to share your story or your experience, please email me. And kindly subscribe so you don't miss on my future videos. I will see you in my next video, everyone. Until then, have a great day. Thank you.